We're live.
Are you doing a live today?
Are we doing a live today? I think so. Just saw Esther message me. Are we doing a live today? I'm like, oh my god, we're late. We're late. People don't think we're doing a live today. That's not good. And then if Eric asks us, guys, where's the live? We're 15 minutes late. I'm like, yeah.
Right.
I'm just kidding, Eric. How's it going, guys? Good afternoon from Vegas. Happy Saturday. Happy weekend for those of you who are still on some sort of weekday schedule. We kind of are. We're kind of like an everyday schedule, but I hope you guys are doing okay. I'm seeing Eric from T-Sleuth, Ronan. Bonsoir for you, probably. 23 Axolotl, hola, como estás? How's it going? Mindful Teas is here. A Jade Girl. Esther, we were just talking about you and how I was like, oh my god, we really gotta go. Esther thinks we're not going live. That means we're really late. Bonjour, bonjour. Yeah, so aujourd'hui, je bois un pu'erh, of course. Of course, today we're drinking a pu'erh. This is a pu'erh we had over in the Instagram stories. It is White 2 Teas 4 a.m. I wish that my camera would focus on it because it's quite a cute cake and we're gonna hit that up. Hope you guys are excited. Hope you guys are drinking some pu'erh. If not, then you gotta get on that because we are, you know, we're doing the pu'erh challenge. I don't think you've heard. Maybe I haven't talked about it enough. 7 pu'erhs within 15 days. We're on day 4, so you've got quite a bit of time if you haven't started yet. So far, we have already completed. We have 1 completion. That's Jeremy from Quebec. Damn. My Quebec folks, you guys are like killing it right now. So I'm like, wow. I'm actually on 0 still because I think I told you guys that the lives that I'm doing, I don't count those pu'erhs towards my own 7. So I'm still at 0. I am counting these in a separate kind of file, but I personally still want to do like my own personal pu'erh challenge. So if you think it's too late to join, don't think it's too late. The hashtag is pu'erhlove2020 on Instagram. And it's the pu'erh Love channel on Discord. Either way you want to play, it's up to you. The goal is just to expand your pu'erh love, your pu'erh explorations, especially if you aren't currently head over heels in love with pu'erh yet, which is where I'm at. But hey, here's a goal. Here's an achievement. There we go. See, I speak only one language and so poorly. My achievement is today I woke up and I was looking for pu'erh. Right? Like, oh my god, I never look for pu'erh in the morning. I just wanted a pu'erh, even if I wasn't going to log it for the challenge. So that's a little bit different. I think what's happening there is that familiarity effect where we tend to drink the same teas that we are comfortable with and tend to drink. We're humans, you know, so we're creatures of habit. So yeah, thank you for that. TJ9 is here. Hashtag pu'erh god. The man who's already on 9 out of 7 pu'erhs. That guy's crazy. Ty Loves Tea is here. Danae from Camellia's Treaty is here. Apathea is here. Joe, Fish Anywhere, and Rio Max. Oh god. Still need to follow up on my French lessons. I am sad. Yeah. So I hope that you guys are proud of me. And then for the pu'erh lovers, it's just, you guys got this, you know? My hope is that you guys just expand what you like to drink. So if you like a certain kind of pu'erh, try something else, or just drink a lot, you know? Anyway, I'm trying to figure out how to open this thing. I'm the kind of person that if I open presents, I want to open them in such a way that I don't tear them. So how do I... Okay, oh, it's a sticker. It's a big sticker. Pu'erh, I've never seen this tea in my life. So it's a big sticker. It is from Y2T. I'm not sure how many grams is in this little cake. I got this cake as part of Liquid Proust's Shang Olympiad from 2 years ago. I think this is 2018 Shang Olympiad. And yeah, I haven't drunk it. So don't tell Andrew. I ordered that really, really important packet of tea and didn't really crack into it. And that's not because I didn't want to drink it. I just tend to save teas that are super special for another day. If you guys have receive my emails, you'll have, you know, the whole like, oh, you know, I saved my tea for the perfect moment. I'm just that kind of person. I'm trying to kind of fix that. Yeah. Yeah, it is wrapped up like a candy. So let's see what's inside here. Our topic today is blended pu'erh. And I think it's something important for us to talk about because personally I have a bias for pu'erh that I know the origin of. So then I have this mental block where it's like, oh, it's a blend and I don't know what's in it. I'm not really gonna reach for it because I'm trying to learn more about tea. So if I don't know what's inside the cake, I almost have this like, oh, like, then if I like it, how do I know how to get more? Y2T, I think from what I understand, he designed their collection to kind of get away from that, like, focus on origin and more about just enjoying the tea. So this is kind of like a meta, like, yeah, we're gonna drink the Y2T tea that's just been designed for us to focus more on the tea and not so much about the thinking, about the categorization. And other pu'erh blenders will actually tell you where the blend is from, like which areas of Yunnan province the leaves are from. But I think Y2T is a little bit different in which that they don't really want to focus on that. So I actually have no idea where these leaves are from. So it's almost like I have the cake, but it's a blind tasting for me. This is just how much I feel about like blended cakes. I'm just so, wow, what's going on? What's gonna happen? So I'm gonna break up this cake. Some people like to put the whole cake inside. I like to break up my cake so I get a more even, kind of like, even brew on it. Let me get my pu'erh pick so I can get this done. Okay. What are you guys drinking today? It better be pu'erh, otherwise I don't know why you're here. You're banished. Yeah, there we go. It's a pretty, like, solid cake. It's not super, super hard, but sometimes these smaller cakes tend to be a little bit more compressed just because there's more pressure put on them. As we very well, you know, figured out when we were pressing our own Dragon Well cakes. If you ever have a chance to press your own cake at home, I know it's kind of a stretch, but, you know, we were able to do it. And we learned a lot about the way that cakes are compressed and how much work and skill and finesse goes into pressing a cake. So now whenever I see a cake, I'm like, holy crap, those guys know what they're doing. Yeah, that replay is on YouTube if ever you'd like to see me and Steven struggle with trying to press Dragon Well cake. I know it's ridiculous. The tea police are gonna come and, you know, tea police are gonna come and get us. Jeremy, you said don't call the tea police for drinking, was it Myanmar pu'erh? Was that yesterday? That was so long ago. We've been doing so much. But I think maybe the tea police, if they were ever going to come, they were going to come when we pressed that Dragon Well into the cake. Okay, quick rinse here. As many of you guys know, I like to drink the rinse of a pu'erh. You don't have to, but being an admittedly very thinky kind of tea drinker, I like to know what is going on from the very beginning. If I toss this, as is, I guess, customary, or it's very typical, you know, don't fault yourself if it's very typical to toss out the rinse, have the leaves open up, and anything that's on the outside of the cake kind of goes away. But I want to taste if there's any issue from the very beginning, even if it is at the cost of an unpleasant cup. I just want to. And that's where our interdisciplinary kind of tea practice comes into play. I learned to drink the rinse from oolong tea, and the first rinse, that first flash steep of an oolong is one of my favorite steeps. So I almost can't mentally do that with this and throw out the steep. So cheers. Getting some tea started. Yeah. Let's see. What are you guys drinking before I drink my cup? Jeremy's having some matcha. Dude, you're supposed to be pu'erh god. It's okay, Marco's here. He can be pu'erh god. Hi, Marco. Ciao. How's it going? It's pretty late there, I bet. Thanks for joining us. And welcome to the earlier lives. I hope that works out for you a little bit better. That means we can wake up earlier to catch European live streams too. I've been waking up at you guys start at 8 o'clock our time. I wake up at 8 or a little bit before, so I'm like, it's a little early. Eric is having a shutuo. from Daniel Loy. I really like everything from that shop I've had so far. Ronan is having a Daheishu 2015. Okay, TJ is having a ripe cake from White Tea soon, so join me with a White Tea little train we're going on. WhatsApp Cook is here. Welcome to our pu'erh practice. Ooh, you guys are drinking a lot of pu'erh. I love it. Dr. Felix has some aged sheng pu'erh from the 90s. Just listen to all the stuff we're drinking together. Proud Transbians having some tuocha gong fu style. Yeah, cool. And then Joe is having the 2011 Yunnan sourcing Mantang Hong #2. First pu'erh I have enjoyed. Okay, there you go. I've never had this one. This is my first time trying this, so we'll see how it goes. So first sip before we get into our, discussion and all of that stuff. Mysterious. I don't know what it is. It's very clean tasting. Sometimes the rinse is very janky tasting, especially on show, but sometimes also on shang. This tastes very clean. I like it. This one has been stored in the Ziploc bag that Andrew shipped out all his teas for the Shang Olympiad. So compared to my other pu'erh, it's actually not as dry, but it's quite dry. I like the rinse because before you get into the meat of the pu'erh, I kind of get to know how the storage was like. Is it on the dry side? Is it on the wet side? And as a tea drinker, it's a strategic move because you can kind of adjust for how the tea will come out later on. A common thing I observe in pu'erh is the very first steep is extremely strong, or the very first steep is extremely bitter, or sometimes extremely light. This tea is reading to me as being lighter than I thought it'd be, so I'm gonna adjust on the second steep to push it a little bit more. And that kind of just maximizes what I'm getting for the tea. If any of you are gamers, I guess you could call it the min-max method, minimum maximum, where we're trying to get the most out of the tea. Kind of like in a game, you're trying to maximize your stats and your moves and stuff like that. Me and Steven are playing too much StarCraft this morning, so that's probably why we're talking about games, but even if you're not a gamer, just little steps you can take to increase the enjoyment, the value you get out of your tea. I'm all for that kind of stuff. Yeah. So Marco's gonna have a sheng as well. Let us know what that is. Wow. Just from the rinse, a really beautiful third aftertaste. That's cool. I'm really impressed already. Delphine is here. Bonjour, bonjour. And Nazanin from Tea Thoughts. Iyoko BBT is here. Welcome to our pu'erh practice. We're having some 4 a.m. from White Tea, a tea I've never had before. And I don't have a lot of White Tea teas, to be honest. When they were starting to get more active, I stopped buying so much tea and pu'erh. Just been, traveling a bit much and trying to drink down what I had already, stocked up over many years. So I was lucky to get this as part of kind of like a pu'erh group buy and discussion that Liquid Proust did 2 years ago. Esther's having Hong Tai Chow 2006, a Thai pu'erh. That's interesting. And if you are in possession of any Thai or Myanmar, Burma, Laos pu'erh, it is part of the challenge. I think it's part of our explorations of pu'erh just as much as, Yunnan pu'erh. If it helps you, it should be part of the challenge. I would like for us to keep within a certain kind of guideline, of course. So no heicha, no liubao, no fuchuan. Those are fermented teas from other parts of China, but the style is very different. If you do Thai pu'erh or Laos pu'erh, I feel like it's even more similar to the Chinese pu'erhs than some of the other provinces in China. So that's why we're deciding to do that. Yeah. So really nice. I'm really enjoying this tea from the very beginning. I'm surprised by how clean it is. So that's pretty nice. Sweet, soft. It's got some kind of intriguing things to it. I checked the site on Y2T to see how old it was. I was just curious. Maybe I shouldn't have checked how old it was. It should have just been blind, but it's 2017, I think. But that's all we know. And that the fact that it's blended with leaves from different areas. And when you have, I have another pu'erh here, just to show you an example. This is Crimson Lotus's Bulangshan Gushu. So when you hear the word, or when you read the word Bulangshan in a packet, and you try to read the description too if you can, the vendor will tell you if the pu'erh is from one place or from a certain batch of trees or from a certain region in Yunnan, and that means that tea has a concentrated, just single terroir. It captures the feeling, the taste of that one place. Personally, I have a bias for those kinds of teas. I like terroir. I like exploring what a place is going to be through the tea. So I just love it. It's like when I drink the 2012 Wulang Shan from Crimson Lotus, which we will in a couple days, I know it's going to be the essence of Wulang, supposedly, right? When you drink Longjing Dragonwell from China, it should be from Westlake, then you're drinking the essence of Westlake tea. And I just really like that idea. This is challenging for me to approach a cake that's blended, number one, and then number two, I don't know what the blend is. We have pu'erhs that are blended, and I'm okay with that because they'll tell you exactly where they're from. Like, oh, it's 2/3 Lamana and then 1/3 Linsang or something like that. This one, by design from Y2T, we don't know. And for me, I keep using that example of the dog, you're trying to pull to the bath. I'm like, no, tell me what it is. Don't. I want to know what it is. Please. But I think that they designed it this way so that you don't think too much about origin. It's kind of like a commentary on how focused on name and origin and region we tend to be in the tea world. So it's interesting. Yeah. And kind of outside of my comfort zone, admittedly, but we'll try to ride the wave the way it's supposed to be. Oh goodness! Tell Ree whenever she's not putting her lid on her gaiwan. We tested that. It's supposed to be better with the lid on in between steeps. It's a long habit I gotta break. So second steep. I'm calling it the second steep. I guess I don't do a rinse. So it's the rinse first that I had in the first steep. But officially, I'll just call it the second steep, if that's okay with you guys. Ooh. Ooh. Wow. I like that, immediately. Ooh. Ooh. It's like a very sexy tea. I think that's the first, I've made all pu'erh challenge, huh, Steven? Right? Have we done that yet?
Maybe.
Yeah, ooh. It's very attractive. It's one of those teas that kind of comes onto you. It's very fruity, it's very sweet, it's got some floral, it's very complex. I like this kind of tea. Tasty stuff. Wow. And I love the color. I really like Shang pu'erh. That's this very beautiful kind of, what would you call it? Peach rose gold color. Tend to like things that look like that for some reason. When it comes to pu'erh. Apathea asks what pu'erhs you recommend for someone who's never had pu'erh before. I'm sure you guys already followed up on that question underneath. Dr. Felix, I drink the rinse as well. It's like a tea trailer, he says. Did you guys answer that question? Ooh, you guys are too shy to tell Apathea what your favorite pu'erh vendors are. In terms of pu'erh, I think it's best to do a couple different vendors because different vendors have different personalities. Maybe you've seen this already with the tea that you drink currently. But like Y2T's teas tend to have a certain vibe, and then Crimson Lotus teas tend to have a certain vibe. Yunnan sourcing teas tend to have a certain vibe. Denong tea, Zuowang. And then even if do you have a local tea vendor? Even if there are these specialists in pu'erh that I think are the most popular for people to try first, I really recommend that you go into a local tea shop. Because pu'erh is one of those things it helps to have a little bit of a holding hand when you're getting into it. Otherwise, you will spend a lot of money trying to figure out by yourself. Which is, one way of going about it, but as someone who's pretty cheap and has a lot of trust in other people who know more than me, I like to learn something from other people. At least a little bit. So that you have some kind of guidance. So let's say, the 2011 Mangting Hong that Joe is drinking. If you like it, you're like, what is this? How do I get more of it? On a site like Yunnan Sourcing, it might be overwhelming to kind of dig into it. And even for us, we put in a Yunnan Sourcing order 2 weeks ago. And I know how to buy tea pretty well. I have a lot of confidence in what I like and what I want to get. And still, I'm like, holy crap, how do we allocate the money for what we want to buy because there's just so much. Even with Yunnan sourcing and how intense their information is, it's very well populated. It's just, yeah. So I would say go as wide as possible when you're doing pu'erh. If you're joining us for the challenge as well, anyone else who's joining us as part of that kind of not in love with pu'erh yet, but falling in love, I also recommend going as wide as possible. In the future, you can do something like, taste all linsang tea, like all tea from one part of Yunnan, or taste all Sheng pu'erh. You can do that eventually, but better to go wide, I think. Do you guys agree? I got a couple of pu'erh gods here. I think the pu'erh religion is a polytheistic religion, if it had to be. We got TJ, who is already finished the challenge. Marco, I think I would consider you a tea god too, pu'erh god. I think Shiloh would be a pu'erh god too, more like a Yunnan traveling god. You've been there, so you've been to like the Valhalla of pu'erh. I guess Valhalla's the wrong word. Valhalla's where all the warriors who die go, right? So what's heaven in Norse mythology? What's heaven in Norse mythology, Steven? Asgard. There we go. Asgard, right? So you all been to Yunnan, the promised land, Asgard. So yeah. I wonder if you'll have the same advice. So feel free to drop any like favorite vendors if you have in the chat. It's just good to trade notes. Infused tea is here. Welcome to the pu'erh practice today. Totalmente te. Imagine hola como estas. Is that the right thing to say? Tea Travelers here. Garden Tea Lounge is here. You're not too late. We just started, I think. Tea is a time warp for sure. Ricardo Katafi is here. Ciao, how's it going? And Jewel Yoga is here. Welcome to pu'erh practice. Let us know what you guys are drinking. I think all of us are drinking pu'erh right now. Yeah. So good stuff. Very sexy tea. We're drinking the 4 a.m. from Y2 Tea. 2017 blended. Got a little bit of bite at the end, which is actually quite interesting because at the very beginning it's very sweet and fruity and kind of... I think the name of the cake matches the profile quite a bit. It's very romantic and kind of come on-y, like, hey, I'm very attractive, come drink me, kind of tea. And then at the end, it's got a little bit of bitterness to round things out. I like it a lot. Yeah. Good. I like it. Good. It's a tea with a lot going on right now. And I can appreciate that. Kind of wanting a pretty intense pour at this point. Can you believe I'm saying that? Steven, really looking for intense pu'erh. Jeez. Vikov is here. Welcome to our tea practice today. We're doing pu'erh and double teas. Welcome. Remember, it's Pu'erh Love 2020. The challenge to fall in love with pu'erh for myself, for anyone else who'd like to. We're just trying to drink as much tea as possible, learn as much as possible. Shiloh says that Denong tea is one of my favorite pu'erh vendors. I agree. Denong's pretty incredible. We started off with one of their pu'erhs. I really like them. One of my turning points in my pu'erh journey was going to the shop over in California. So I have not been to the one in Kunming like Shiloh has, but really incredible. Really, really, really good. Good stuff. But each vendor has different kind of personalities, and I don't want to just have one. Proud Transbian says, I definitely recommend Tianshi. How do you say X again? Shi, I think. Yeah, Tianshi's Tuocha. Wow, I've never heard of them before, which is the one I'm doing. It's good, strong, and good for Grandpa style brewing. I do like pu'erhs that can handle Grandpa style brewing. We were discussing this on Discord, are there lots of pu'erhs that do well with bowl brewing or Grandpa style brewing? We've been bowl brewing quite a lot of pu'erhs because Steven and I do a lot of bowl brewing, but I'm finding that unlike oolong, where sometimes the character of the oolong comes out even better in a bowl, Sheng pu'erh is almost like it kind of wilts without the attention. It's like a high maintenance plant. Pu'erh feels to me like a very high maintenance tea. So, yeah, maybe we should just try to find a different pu'erh bowl brew. It's been going well though. Here's the proof. This is yesterday's session we had. This is this is Zwolwang. This is Zwolwang Stash Reishan. It was good. It was quite interesting journey we went through yesterday. Another intense tea in a different way. Marco, the only thing we can do is taste a lot. 100% agree. Even tasting a lot from the same. Yunnan's area is always hard to flavor talk about that specific area. Correct? I agree with that too. Only practice can help. Yeah, I changed my mind about Samao tea. Somehow. Samao is Simao. You might have seen it in a lot of pu'erh friends. You've probably had a lot of Samao pu'erhs, but I thought I did not like Samao pu'erh until the other day when Stephen blind tasted me on it, and I was like, wow, this is great. It was a Samao show, and it was surprisingly sweet and rich and super satisfying, and it was good. So changing my mind a little bit there. I'm really happy to be able to change the patterns. So third steep, right? I hope it's a third steep. I'm drinking this pretty fast, actually. Ooh, so this tea, for the first time I'm feeling it going down into the stomach. That's another thing I want to look for in pu'erh, is not just the taste, but how comfortable it makes me feel. It is going down to the stomach in a very comfortable way. Good stuff. This whole body feel thing is something that comes out more in kind of Chinese traditional like tea theory, where it's actually less about flavor notes and more about, the flavor notes are there, but they'll be like, oh, it's huaxiang, meaning flower scent, it smells like flowers, or guoxiang, meaning it smells like fruits. And then they talk about a couple of aftertaste things, and then the rest of the focus is on how good it makes you feel, and how it affects you, and how other things. It's nice to marry, our, I think, more flavor notes oriented Western tasting, and then the more everything else kind of Eastern tasting. Not to make the dichotomy between East and West too much, but it's just what I've seen. Taking my tasting notes abilities to Taiwan, they were like, what? So how does it feel? I'm like, I don't know. It tastes good? It's like, no. How does it feel? Does it feel good? And I'm like, I've never been asked that question in my life about tea. That was a few years back. So yeah, very comfortable. Eric's helping me talk about this concept here. He's getting very relaxed and tired from the tuocha he's having. Esther, you can help me talk about this too, maybe? Is it okay that I tell people that we were, very much affected by our pu'erhs last night? Pu'erh can sometimes keep you up a lot. I mean, pu'erh is not the only tea that'll do that, but if you're sensitive to pu'erh, sometimes the harsh pu'erhs can hurt the stomach, keep you up. And then we were talking about you, Marco, when you weren't here the other day, that you don't get affected by pu'erh so much than you do about dansong and certain white teas, which is the opposite of what I experience, I tend to be very comfortable brewing even kind of okay oolong, but even if the pu'erh is just a little bit not okay, I react very strongly to it. I get a headache or I get a stomach ache. I get kind of fuzzy, my head hurts, body hurts, I get sleepy. I'm like a tuning fork for kind of like tea vibes, seems like. Yeah. Esther says, I looked it up and all my pu'erhs I read from Daya cultivar. Do we have other cultivars used for pu'erhs? Yeah, so Shiloh right below says that Daejong, largely from Yunnan, is most typically considered the only real pu'erh in Yunnan. Yes, so I agree with that. I think that there's different kinds of Dae though. Don't quote me on this, don't call the tea police. This is what I understand. Dae is in general what's used for pu'erh in Yunnan, but there's slightly different genetic kind of like variations going on because the trees are able to kind of like self-pollinate. Like, just think about it. If your vendor is talking about the trees being wild and uncultivated, then there's some like genetic kind of mixing going on. So it's not necessarily a cultivar, because I think cultivar means cultivated variety, meaning like we designed it to be that certain way. varietal, I think, is what we can use better to describe dae, because they're all large leaves, but they're not so genetically the same. Versus, say, for, Qingxin Oolong, it's a type of cultivar in Taiwan. Qingxin Oolong in Alishan, and Qingxin Oolong in Lishan, and Qingxin Oolong in where they make baozong, which it can't grow there very well. But anyway, if you put it there, it's the same thing over and over and over again with very little genetic difference. I mean, pu'erhs look pretty different from leaf to leaf, so I think there's more going on there. Versus our Qingxin and Jinshuan teas from Taiwan, which very much look the same over and over again. They cut the cuttings from the original plant and plant it out. Whereas in Yunnan, you have more trees kind of like doing the tree thing, making seeds, and then they kind of like propagate out. And then you have your purple tree teas, and you have, yeah. So I think that it's a little bit, it's dae, the big leaf, but a little bit more variation going on. I would hope that maybe if someone disagrees or has something else to add to that, let me know. I have not been to Yunnan. It's another big area of improvement. I need to kind of just go there and study it a little bit. So a lot of my tea knowledge is very much like Taiwan and India and Nepal and China focused. Yunnan I haven't been to. Japan I haven't spent a lot of time. So those are kind of like my weak points that I'd like to learn more about in the future. Henrique is here. How's it going, my friend? Hola. And Cafe Nativa. Welcome to our pu'erh practice. Yeah, this is good so far. Good. It's doing what it wants me to do. Just enjoy it, because I can't think about it. But Esther says, I'll try to look for answers. Would like to know why for sure. Yeah, I'd like to know also. Maybe that could be our kind of mission over the next couple days on the Discord. Just send out a couple people to look at some scientific articles. I would do it today, but I'm trying to have a Saturday and go play StarCraft afterwards, so if we don't have an answer by Monday, I promise I'll look at some articles. Ispodne Desnosh, welcome to the pu'erh practice today, and Silva 9918. And Shiloh saying, I love Shang style pu'erhs from Laoshan district in Qingdao. I haven't had that stuff. Laoshan Shang style pu'erh. Interesting. Yeah. Let's see. Eric says, Shang pu'erh hits and hurts my chest. You guys are talking a lot about pu'erh stuff. This is awesome. Yeah. And then TJ says there's a small leaf variety as well. It can also be called pu'erh. I agree. And then I think areas like Jingu and... Is it Jingu or is it Jingmai? There are areas of Yunnan where there are a lot of smaller leaf cultivars. I think it's Jingmai. Someone help me? Steven can help me. I forget. See, I know I've studied a lot about these like terms, just talking to people and asking them. Again, I don't like to rely too much on just one article on the internet to kind of solidify my tea knowledge. But because I don't drink pu'erh that much, I know the names, and then I can't connect it to an experience or a tea. So even y'all nerds who like to read articles and blogs and talk on the Discord, I mean, I run a blog, so I hope that you're reading, tea blogs to learn about stuff. The tea blog needs to be just your reference, and then you need to connect it to a tea, otherwise the information will float away. Goodbye forever, all the complicated Chinese terms that you'll never memorize. At least for me, that's what happens. I need to connect the concept to something I'm drinking. Anyway, blended pu'erhs. I have no idea what this is, and that's, very confounding for me, because I like to talk about what I know about where this tea is. For those of you who are joining us, we're talking about pu'erh that's blended. I specifically picked a pu'erh that I don't know what the blend is made of. So if you have a pu'erh that says, Bulangshan or, Mengku or Linsang, specific area, or Yiwu, even if it's not from the same garden, it could be from different parts of that area, it's still at least one kind of confined area. And the reason why some pu'erh people will blend those pu'erhs together instead of keeping it separate is they want to achieve a certain flavor in the cake, which is what Y2T did here. And yeah, you can't achieve that same flavor from a single area tea than you do with a blend. Most of us have spent our lives drinking blended teas more than flavored teas. More than straight teas. If you drink tea bags are often a blend of like Kenya, Chinese, and Indian or Sri Lankan teas. There's that guy with like what is he? He's like insured taste buds, like most expensive taste buds in the world because they're insured. I think he works for Lipton or Tetley or something like that. And every single year, this kid. He's not a kid, but this person will take all the lots of different small, like tea dust from different areas to try to recreate the Lipton tea bag taste. Which is, if you think about it, Lipton's pretty consistent. When we say Lipton, people in Italy, people in France, people in Quebec, people in St. Louis, people here in Vegas, people in Japan, wherever you are, the Lipton taste is a Lipton taste. That's pretty impressive. So I can see kind of why they want to insure this guy's taste buds. But he has to balance the taste of Kenya and Chinese tea and Indian tea and Sri Lankan tea to make that taste every single year. Even if the weather changes, even if the plantation kind of like goes a certain way or doesn't, which is pretty insane. So definite respect for people who blend shang pu'erh. That's why blends are pretty interesting because they're able to achieve certain flavor profiles that we can't see otherwise from a single tree. Pu'erh, you know? Arguably, blended pu'erhs are also more consistent because if, let's say, there's a problem in Iwu that year, let's say Iwu harvest just as a whole, Iwu is it's a large area from what I understand. It's pretty big, but let's say that area just got hit really bad, the weather wasn't good, maybe an early frost killed some trees, and it's just not a good season for them. You're just SOL. Well, that sucks. It's just gonna not taste good, right? With blended teas, you can kind of take a little bit of Iwu, a little bit of Bulan, a little bit of Mangku, maybe a little bit of Laos. You gotta be honest, right? Like, not all pu'erh from China is completely 100% Chinese tea, right? I would like to go send the tea police over there, but it's just a geographical, just a country boundary. There are places in China that are just right across the border from, gosh, I wish I looked at a map before this live stream. I think Laos? Laos is right there, Burma's right. Are Burma and Laos the same thing? No, Burma and Myanmar are the same thing. I'm being really American right now. I like looking at maps, but see, I can tell you where everything is in Taiwan, but when I'm like Yunnan, I'm like, Yunnan's here. And then there's some Southeast Asian countries over here. Anyway, a lot of those pu'erhs, could be getting material from across the border. Now, is that really pu'erh? Because technically, right, pu'erh should only be from Yunnan province, China. But what if, I'm here and this is the Chinese border, and then my neighbor is across the border from Laos. Do I say, oh, mine's pu'erh, but yours is Laos Shang Hei Cha? We have the same garden, we have the same cultural background, we have the same processing style, but is it then pu'erh because he's over on the other border? So even if it can kind of be frustrating to deal with issues of authenticity, it's like, why would people lie about, just call it Laos pu'erh? When you think about it that way, it becomes a little bit more fluid, like, okay, I get it. It's like, would I rather have a really, really nice Laos pu'erh that's processed very authentically, or a kind of crappy tea from somewhere in Yunnan where people weren't paying attention and they're just calling it pu'erh because they can? I don't think there's an answer to that. It's just some things to just think about, So I'm looking at your opinions and experiences about how tea affects you. Marco says that dansong and some hongcha, especially from Taiwan, can cause a pain in your head. Henrique, I'm not sure if you talked about this, but you've said dansong makes your stomach hurt. Esther says pu'erh makes me feel weird, almost dizzy. Yeah, it just depends on the person. Yeah. Ricardo says about our leaf discussion, Camellia sinensis assamic is just a subspecies. You could have varietals. genetic exchange. So good. We got some backup there in case the tea police comes. Ricardo, I'm letting them take you first. I'm sorry. I think you can fight them off better than me. Welcome to Books by the Cup. And I got you two. Or I got you three. Yeah. Wow. You guys have some really cool discussion going on here. And yeah, I found that really good pu'erh can still... It just depends on the person. Another thing, which I gotta throw it back to floating leaves again. For a long time, I thought that if a pu'erh on the very first session made me feel weird, or just didn't come out right, I just considered it not to be a good pu'erh. But floating leaves, Showen and Noah, talk about working with a tea. And just in the last year or so, I've encountered some teas that are really, really good, but you need to work with them and be in a certain kind of like preparation and mental space and physical space to have them come out properly. I think pu'erh just might be one of those teas, at least for me, that it really depends on how I'm preparing it, if I'm being careful with it, if I'm just in the right zone to make it feel and taste good. Not just taste good, but feel good too. We'll have to see. I do still think that you have to start with good pu'erh to have a good feeling, but there could be some, just very powerful teas that you have to kind of work with a little bit to get the result you want, like a comfortable feeling. That's getting we're kind of like getting off topic here, but I just like to share these things in case anyone's ever experienced these kind of like fringe, niche, we don't talk about it very much, tea experiences. It's still part of tea experience, so that's why I like to talk about it. Yeah. Mel from Akasakura Yuki is here. How's it going, my friend? Ricardo says you brand Thai tea as you in that case. Oh, tea police! Call him! And Jeremy says Laos is just across Greater Iwu. Yeah, so that's why like whenever I see Iwu, I like Iwu tea, but I see a lot of Iwu that's Iwu, and I look at the price, and I'm like, man, like, how did they do that? And I've had Laos tea. I actually have some Laos teas if you guys are interested in doing a Laos pu'erh live one of these days. Like, they're specifically labeled Laos, which makes me really excited because now I can taste what Laos is like. So if I taste that, because the Laos pu'erh is probably not lying, right? They're not going to call the pu'erh Laos pu'erh if it's from China. It doesn't make sense because the Chinese name attached to the pu'erh makes it more expensive. So if they're calling it Laos pu'erh, they're probably not lying. They're probably telling the truth because the Laos name is going to make it cheaper because it's less authentic. So what we can do, and what I've done before, is I've tested and tasted the Laos pu'erh. So when I taste that taste in like a Iwu, I'm like, like, I wonder, is there any way to really tell? No, like, I'm not trying to like be the tea police. Oh God, like, don't get me wrong. I am not the tea police. I do not ever want to be the tea police. Unless I get a dog, then maybe. But Bella would be a horrible police dog. Forget about it. It's just interesting to think about. And as long as we're aware of it, I'm okay not knowing. As long as I'm aware of it, I think that's all we can ask for. I keep steeping this pu'erh by habit, but it's so satisfying that I'm just kind of coasting on it. I'm drinking it pretty fast, though. Huh, Steven? I'm like actually going through. Yeah.
Are you drinking it or is that me drinking it?
It's me. I'm drinking some too. Yeah. Yesterday's Purple Buds, if you guys were here, I'm sorry. We went into like different universes there. I shouldn't apologize for that, but we really did go into a couple different like even more philosophical tangents. It's the effect of the pu'erh, man, or of the buds if you don't want to call them pu'erh. This one's a more easy drinker for sure, but very complex, very compelling. It's easy to drink, I feel like. I am feeling kind of cold though. Steven.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like ice cold. So I do this, I have people hold my hands at the very beginning of a tea session because I can't control my body temperature. I'm not a monk who can control like their heart rate and stuff. To show them that tea can indeed have some kind of effect on the body that you can't control. And now I'm cold, right? Touch again, I'm getting colder.
What?
Yeah, it's just, wow, my hands are freezing. But I feel comfortable. Sometimes I feel cold and I don't feel comfortable, but now my hands are cold, but I feel pretty okay. So maybe I gotta be a little bit careful about this tea, make sure that I'm focusing on it, and apparently you can kind of like ride the wave of tea energy if you want to. I've never, we'll see. Yeah. Italian tea company is here. Man, I gotta catch up with your chat, you guys. Ooh. Let's see. Oh, Esther and Shiloh were talking about something really interesting. What could it be about the pu'erh that's causing a person, it doesn't have to be Esther, a person to be uncomfortable with it? I think number one, most important thing, I think, is that we're all different. And I've poured a tea that I'm super confident in. It makes me feel amazing. It's incredible. It makes me feel good. Organic, natural, old tree, just the good stuff. Like something that I sincerely, like if you were in front of me, I'd be like, I'm so happy to share this tea with you. I believe in it. I know it. It's so good. Even the tea that's good, I have been unable to like give that positive experience to someone just because maybe they're different. And they're like, oh, I got a headache from that. And personally, I'm like, it's like, you know, I cooked you my chili and I worked on it all night. I stay up late at night to like cook it all night and then you don't like it, you know? But people are just different. We have different taste buds and we have different bodies. So that's one thing. But I do find, just to trade notes, maybe you guys have something different that you experience. I feel more comfortable with teas that tend to be from Linsang, Yu, and Nanwo. So those three areas. I know Linsang's pretty big, but you know, most Linsang stuff tends to sit okay with me. And then older tree stuff seems to be a little bit better for me. And then stuff that is natural or biodiverse or organic, even without the certification. And look, I don't sell tea, I don't get paid by anyone to talk about what I like to drink. I do it so that I can tell you honestly what my experience is without, I'm biased, you know? I don't even buy organic produce, but for some reason, organic tea or tea that's not been treated with like pesticides or fertilizers tends to sit better with me. And especially with pu'erh, the pu'erh trees that are just allowed to kind of like do their thing, as long as they're processed by the right person, seem to be better for me. Sometimes though, those like really intense old trees can be like out of control and the person who's making them may not know what to do with the leaf material and then they end up being like, oh my god, monsters. I know we're getting into like some like, you know, if something doesn't like make sense to you right now even, maybe keep it on the back burner and come back to it someday. Or just throw it out, you know? But if something is resonating with you or you want to explore it more, then yeah. I'm just talking and sharing. Don't think that it's just right or wrong. See for yourself if that's what you experienced too. And like Shiloh says, this challenge is designed to explore different pu'erhs and compare what we have learned. So thank you, Shiloh, for putting that into context, what I was trying to share. I'm like ice cold, Steven. I wish I could just... I'm like really cold, but I'm comfortable. Sometimes when I'm really cold, I get a headache, but I'm okay. Shampoo tends to make me feel cold, depending on the shampoo. But I'm like ice cold. Ooh! I even shocked myself with how cold my hands are. On the flip side, that show from the other day, the CPTR 2011 Paka, I was like really warm. The brown sugar kind of like cozy one. I was so warm. If you saw my picture that I posted after Instagram, like the thank you picture, if you look back to it, or I can look back to it, you guys can't anymore. I'm like red. I can kind of, as red as I can be. Like I'm not as red as, let's say, Steven. Just like a shot out of the dark. Pa-pow! But I was like really red and kind of sweaty and yeah. Yeah. And then Jeremy, bring us back to our topic, the economics of pu'erh. The whole pu'erh label means you can sell a tea for a whole lot more because of terroir. Correct. So that's important. That's really, really important to talk about. If you're buying a bulang or linsang, like a single region pu'erh, you are paying more for it because it's single origin. Usually. A lot of the time. I think the only time where a blended tea will be more expensive than the single origin version, like them separate, is when the blender is super famous and the cake is like a commemorative cake that they like brought some like master blender to like very, very carefully blend the tea together. Because some blenders are better than others. Some blends are just like, wapa, let's just put it together. But some blenders will be looking at aroma, texture, taste, the body feel, the overall kind of full picture of the tea, how it ages over time, whether it's good for dry or wet storage. And when you have those like god tier blenders, people will probably be paying more for those. The price will be higher on those because of the skill of the blender. Not every blender is like that. So not all blended teas are, you know, the way that they are. But some things to think about. I know this is a lot that we're talking about, but there is a lot to unpack in pu'erh. You know, it's only day 4. And I like to talk about it because we don't get to talk about this stuff much with this much nuance. That's why I really, really, really like having these live sessions, because I could write all of my thoughts down in a blog post, and I do, and I will, but there's no exchange, there's no fluidity, there's no yes, but, and then no, but sometimes kind of thing that, man, if you master the ability to maintain the yes and the no and the maybe and sometimes with tea information, you'll learn so much faster, because tea is just the furthest thing away from being black and white, I think. I guess I'm lucky to be pretty comfortable with like the gray areas with anything. That's why tea has been a little bit easier for me to kind of like absorb. But the people that I know in my life who are very black and white people, tea for them is just very like, I thought you told me that one time that green tea had to be 175 degrees Fahrenheit, 85 degrees Celsius? 80, I forgot. No, what's 175 degrees Fahrenheit and Celsius? Help me. And they can't. I just find that if you stick to that black and white kind of mentality. 85? Did I get it right? Did I get it right? Yes! Celsius team! I'm very happy. Sorry. For context, I've been trying to switch from Fahrenheit to Celsius, or just have them both. So, hope you guys are proud of me, my non-American family. I was about to say Quebecois, because they were the ones who first inspired me to go into Celsius. But everyone else is my Celsius family who's not living in the States. You know? So yeah. Lots of things to think about. Pu'erh is cool like that. Many, many things to stick your grubby fingers into. And if you're curious, if you're tea curious, but if you're just curious, I think that's why pu'erh is so fascinating. It's just very like, so many things to think about. I love it. See, I can't even stop thinking, even if this tea is meant for me not to like analyze it too much. I really wish I knew where these teas were from, because I like them. I want to know what the proportions he used. And this is the con, I think, of not having the origin. I like it. But I'm like, how do I get more of it? Like, of course I can just get some more from white to tea, but what if I want another cake with that same kind of profile, but someone else's approach? I don't know what it is. So now I don't know, you know? Especially as a pu'erh relatively beginner, how do I find more of this, you know? How do I get more of this? Yeah, that's my kind of mental block with blended teas. And then sometimes you can get just, once you know a blender and you like the blend they put out, you can just get more from them. But white tea, there have been some I kind of like, and then some I really love, and then some that are, you know, really not my style. So I guess I just get more 4 a.m. That's the trick. Iliaco Manoscovi? God, I hope I said that right. Welcome to our tea practice today. Neo-Japanese green tea is here. We're drinking some really odd-looking Japanese green tea. Looks like pu'erh from Yunnan. It's actually pu'erh from Yunnan. And tea artist, welcome, welcome. Melon Maron too, welcome to our tea practice today. Let us know what you're drinking. We've been talking about pu'erh for a little bit. Thoughts? I've been talking a lot. What are you guys thinking? You guys been talking a lot too, so I like it. Ricardo Katafi, entertainer. I mean, if you just want an easy tea, I tend to prefer a more flat tea with good note of flavor and sweetness, instead of a very profound and complex taste. That's another good point, is I like complex tea, but do I want to drink a complex tea all the time? No, I don't. That's why me and Steven will sometimes watch Hell's Kitchen, which is just, you just sit back and you watch the chefs mess up scallops 15 times. It's like, what the fuck, dude? You made scallops 100 times. How do you mess this shit up? And then Gordon Ramsay yells at them, and we know the formula, right? Like, challenge winner. They go have a reward. The people who lose have a horrible time. And then you go to service, and then they repeat this 10 times. Gordon Ramsay flips his shit like maybe a good 3 or 4 times more in a bad season. We're on season 10. That's a horrible season. I'm like, man, I could cook a scallop better than those assholes. Is it complex? It's not. Hell's Kitchen is not complex. It's not like Black Mirror, where you're like, wow, I'm thinking so much. We're just like, that fucking asshole can't even cook risotto. But it serves a purpose. I think tea's like that too. I'm enjoying that this tea is very complex and subtle and has a lot to give. I'm in the mood for that right now, but sometimes I don't want to deal with a profound and complex tea. Otherwise, I'd just be over my head. It's good to think about this for yourself so that you can be in charge of what your tasting is. I know you guys are... It's easy. Pick a tea. Of course, anyone knows how to pick tea from their collection, but if you're a little bit more aware of what your tea can do to you, you can kind of influence what experience you have at that moment, not just taste-wise, but also feeling-wise. And then the magic thing is you can influence other people too. At our socials here in Vegas, if I want people to go home, because I want to go home, I have a tea that if I drop it on the table, people are like, oh, we've been talking for 7 hours, but now it's time to go home. Bye, Ree. And I'm like, bye. Oh, you want to go already? Like, we should go home. I don't always do that, but sometimes when I just run out of steam, I'm like, okay, this tea that I know is good. I'm not trying to push people away. I'm just saying it's time to wind down. We got to get the tea that makes people really, really talkative out of the way, and then put the tea in that's more chill. Like, yeah, I want to go home and like go to bed. Some teas are like that. Yeah, good stuff. So this is what? Steep number 6, I think. I've been stacking some steeps over here. I've been boiling, close to boiling on this. A couple degrees off boiling, treating it as hard water as possible. This tea is, it's still very sweet, fruity, floral. There's a lot going on. That's the merit of a blended tea, because they're able to take the characteristics of different areas. White tea has been able to create this profile, which is very it's got a lot going on, a lot of flavor. I think it is very flavor forward. My hands are ice cold though. Again. Are they getting colder?
A little bit.
They're like ice cubes, but I still feel okay, so that's good. And this whole like temperature thing, just interesting. Why does tea make me feel cold? And I haven't eaten today, yes, but I often do go without eating before our tea tastings. It's not, even with green oolong, like I'll drink green oolong in the morning if it's from my teacher, because she processes her oolong in a way that is good for the stomach and feels comfortable. So that's the only weird thing, is that this is making me feel really icy on my fingers. I'm gonna get you with my icy fingers. But very tasty. Very tasty. Yeah, so that's interesting. Anyway, somehow an hour has passed already, and we have to close out. But thank you for joining us for pu'erh. Let me know if you have any comments, concerns, questions, things to add. I appreciate having you. See you guys tomorrow for more pu'erh practice. Bye!